actually, those were our only 3, but we have had them in the past. But we felt so excited to have the 3 that we did have, and it took a lot to make that Frosty. So we were glad to have them. But I just wanted you to know that we usually have more, but we just didn't have a lot of snow this year. But thank you.
All right, scholarship award winners. Dana, I'm going to hand it over to you and Mr. Gillespie. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Every year we seem to get the best and brightest of our youth to make application for scholarships. I believe we had 17 applications this year. So Dana and I both reviewed them, and 4 of them came right to the very top. And I always wonder year after year how these children sleep at night. They're in so many activities. They're just great, wonderful kids. So the 4 winners are Ashley Jones, Aaron Armani, Logan Kalman, and Gregory Lederer. I'll read the first 2. The first one would be Ashley Jones. Ashley has volunteered as a peer buddy with the Delaware County Capernaum program, which allows young people with disabilities to be a part of an engaging environment. She is a member of the Girl Scouts, an outreach co-chair of Minithon, a section leader and social media manager of Garnet Valley High School Drumline and Marching Band. Concord Township Council recognizes and congratulates Ashley for her accomplishments and on being the recipient of the 2022 Concord Township Scholarship Award, and wishes her much success as she continues her studies in bioengineering at the University of Pittsburgh. And second award is to Aaron Armani. Aaron has been actively involved in her community and in extracurricular activities at Garnet Valley High School, where she was captain of the varsity field hockey team, organized a food and shoe drive for city teams, organized a student council charity drive, and served as a member of the Peer Buddies program, where she discovered the Special Olympics Unified Sports Bocce team, or as Dominic would say, Bucci. How do I say that, Dominic?
Never mind, John.
No.
Forget it. Bocce.
Bye. Where her team went to the state championship. Concord Township Council recognizes and congratulates Erin for her accomplishments and on being the recipient of the 2022 Concord Township Scholarship Award, and wishes her much success as she continues her studies in management and psychology at the University of South Carolina.
Okay, our third recipient is Logan Kalman. Logan has been actively involved in his community and in extracurricular activities at Garnet Valley High School, where he was a member of the Student Council for 4 years. Served as treasurer of the Interact Club, was business outreach management chair for Minithon, and chair of multiple student council events. He also was a teen leader for summer camp. Concord Township Council recognizes and congratulates Logan for his accomplishment on being the recipient of the 2022 Concord Township Scholarship Award, and wishes him much success as he continues his studies at James Madison University. And our last recipient is Gregory Lederer. Gregory has been actively involved in his community and extracurricular activities at Garnet Valley High School, where he was a member of the Student Council for 4 years and National Honor Society, where he served as vice president. He worked on the Minithon, where he served as communications and technology chair, which helped him raise funds for pediatric cancer. He has also decided time assisting with collecting canned goods for local food banks, coordinating community blood drive, and collecting clothing for less fortunate. Concord Township Council recognizes and congratulates Gregory for his accomplishments on being the recipient of the 2022 Concord Township Scholarship Award, and wishes him much success as he continues his studies in mathematics and sports management. I'd just like to say we are so appreciative that you guys are here tonight. Over the past couple years, we were still able to award these scholarships, but because of COVID, we weren't able to present these in the public meeting as we are today. So thank you so much.
John, I'm assuming that's in the form of a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, if we'll meet you down front, we'd like to get some pictures. Okay, next on the agenda is public comment. Amanda, I think we did get one via email. If you want to read that into the record, please.
Yep, just give me 1 second. We did receive a comment from Ms. Deanna Wilkinson, 106 Millrace Place, and I will submit the page of comment. It's basically regarding the start in 2020. They had notified the township of an issue with a stormwater orifice that Concord Woods HOA had that was discharging stormwater behind their homes. And the complaint was referred, she notes, to the township engineer, who came out to the property in December and agreed that the reduction plate and the screen should be replaced. They had done some work to it, and it was not something that was sanctioned by the township. We were told specifically, she says that she feels that she's not gotten any resolution, and her property is continuing to erode. And she felt she was promised that the HOA would fix the stormwater infrastructure more timely. And she said, we were told that the repairs couldn't happen until after winter. We were told the pieces have been located and the contractors would be hired. The HOA changed their message. She notes that the reduction plate was recently lying at the face of what she says is a dam, but it's not a dam, it's actually a stormwater outlet structure. And that there's debris and no screen in sight that is passing through. Her question is, does the township care? How long does it take for the required action to be taken? And does anyone follow up on something like this? That's the summation.
Okay. I think this has been something that's been going on a while. I think we ought to have a conversation with Nate. I think that a lot of her, what she's saying there is accurate, that it has been going on a long time, and we ought to just start putting whatever pressure we can to get this resolved.
Sure.
Sounds good. Anyone else? Public comment? Yes, sir. Come on up. How are you?
Good, how you doing? Mark Ventrias, 40 Watkins Avenue.
How are you?
The Move Doctor Office.
Yes.
Has anything been done about the lights? It's been over a month.
We have reached out to their design engineers with our design engineers. I think they've been talking back and forth. I don't have any concrete answer for you, but we can look into that and find out why. They are aware of the issue.
Okay. Well, they're putting more lights in now.
Well, they shouldn't be doing that.
No, they're putting lights in front of the building, down the low lights, like they're on the walkways.
Okay, they're the
bollards.
landscape lighting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I mean,
they're different from the wall packs than the other ones that you noted originally.
we'll get on that.
the second thing is there a township punch list?
For,
Or did the GC lie to us?
no, I'm sorry, what are you referencing? For the project?
Where they put the sewer main ties in front of the houses,
Right.
all the ground sunk, got
Okay.
pits. And I asked him in April, I said, before your landscapers leave, can you fill in the holes? And he says, we have a township punch list that'll be taken care of in March. Well, now we're in May.
Normally, whether it be the sewer department or the engineering department, before we accept a job as final, they do go out and they walk the site and make a punch list. I don't know
That's
if
correct.
they've been, they're at that point there now.
I'm sure if there's any issues, they note it along the entire time.
Okay.
And then there's a point at which they make sure that the punch list,
Amanda, if you
Taken
wouldn't
care of.
mind,
I have it,
don't know if it's
noting
Walt's or Nate's, but make sure we put the backfill of the sewer extensions in as on, make sure it meets that list.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing was, when I was talking to them about that, they had a sewer leak coming up. And you could tell it was a sewer, because we were looking at it, because every time you could see like it pump out and then stop. And
Really?
later on, it'd come out, do more. The guys came out, when I got home from going somewhere, they were digging up around the pipe where it was leaking. Then later on, we saw the neighbors said, they just shut it off at the driveway, and they left. So I never know if they finished, because they didn't fix it because there's never been a hole dug there.
Okay.
I'm not aware of that at all, so I'll have to find out
That on the
immediately.
list.
I mean, I'm retired, so I'm around. So if anybody wants to come,
Don't
I'll
worry.
point to where they're at.
Quite honest with you, I appreciate you being there. and I think one of our guys will be knocking on your door so you can go, we'll take a walk with him.
Yeah, no problem. All right,
got
thank
it.
you.
All right, sounds good. Yes, sir. Dave? How you been?
Hello.
I like the shirt, the Delco.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jim Tucker, 86 Mendenhall Drive. Been here a few times.
Yes.
A couple questions. You had mentioned that the sewer easement cleanup, brush cleanup, is that going to happen on my property too?
For a reason.
Very
No, no,
beginning, we
No,
talked
they're
about
clearing,
sewer
they're
easement.
clearing easements that already exist.
Yeah, it already exists.
Yeah.
Are you cleaning up the area in the woods behind my house?
I don't know where your house is.
86 Mendenhall Drive.
I can't answer
It's
that.
behind, the easement goes alongside my house behind the,
So we have lots of sewer easements. We have miles and miles of sewer easements. We actually have, over the last several years, they're coming up with game plans to take care of any priorities so they can start clearing them. It's been several years since that's been done. So it's on a list, I can tell you. I don't know where it's at in a list. We actually, a lot of times.
Our neighborhood's fairly new. It's only been 3 years, I think, 4 years.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of we try to do it based off of priority and manhole lining. We have one right now that's happening in a certain area. And our Walt Fazler, our engineer, works along with our sewer guys to do that. So I can't, off the top of my head, tell you when, but it's noted because that's something they are working on
Yeah,
mapping out.
Does that mean they'll be taking equipment through my property to get to it?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Well, it all
Which
depends.
is okay.
Yeah, it depends on what needs to be done. They go out and field check it first.
Well, maybe have Terry from the sewer department reach out to,
Well, I can. If you want to know when, I just don't know.
I just need to know before it happens.
It will. Oh, neighbor notification, yes, that's correct.
Second thing was, did you know there was a water main break on Mendenhall yesterday or the day before? That they've been out digging up the water main on Mendenhall. They're finished, but the Chester Water was out there. They're finished, but after they were done, there's mud in the gutter all the way down the street.
we have a good working relationship with them. We'll have our public works guys check it out and get back to CWA, yes.
And what was the third thing? Well, the third thing is on your old
Pool
business.
house? Yeah, we're gonna get in
Okay.
that in a minute.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Goble. And we'll get to you next.
Couple of questions on the Public Works report for this month. The comment that public water service was being extended to the township building. From where is it being extended from?
Areas like the firehouse area.
Oh, so the
So
firehouse has now, so
it's
bringing it.
coming, yep, it's coming down and
Gotcha.
basically doing a short
Okay.
jog there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Question on 723 Concord Road. It is a small lot between, or rather adjoining my property and 711 Concord Road. Been abandoned for some 20 years. It is assessed at $13,000 and identified as non-buildable. Last year, my friends at 711 Concord Holdings LLC, who operates 711 Concord Road, purchased this property, zoned residential. Just want to make sure my understanding of code is correct in that they can't do a reverse subdivision, can't use that residential property for any commercial use without some kind of public hearing. There won't be any secret agreements for the use of that property.
First off, I can say nothing has been proposed. You're telling us about it. If anyone comes in and does a reserve.
I'm just asking a question.
No, yeah, so just.
Because I've seen a lot of other things happen that shouldn't be
yeah.
happening.
But that's leading. So I am unaware of that. What I will tell you is that anybody who comes in to do a reverse subdivision has to follow the same process as anyone else. So it would have to go to planning commission, there would be an application accepted, and then it would be approved by council all publicly.
And there's also a code 710-8 that's not crystal clear to me, but it looks like if a subdivision of lot districts, commercial, residential, divides, I take it to read a single lot, but it's not exactly clear. So my question is, that residential land can't be used for non-residential purposes without a public hearing. True or false?
Well, that would essentially, I mean, I'll defer to council. I don't mean to keep jumping in.
My understanding
be a-
is if a piece of ground is zoned residential, for instance, I have a vacant building lot in front of my house, and if that's zoned residential, I cannot put a Wawa there. I can only build whatever's allowed in a residential zoning district. So if I extend that out to, you're saying that this lot is zoned residential, and to me, it would make sense that the same thing would carry. Absent a plan or absent any conversations about what they intend to do with this property.
Yeah, I'm not asking that. I haven't heard of anything either, but
They could conceivably, if they wanted, turn it into a residential building if they wanted it to. Yes, they could move somebody in there, yes.
well, let me ask that question since you brought it up. I think that property is less than a third of an acre.
They would have to come into the zoning board probably to get a special.
Gotcha, right,
Yeah,
but
okay.
they just can't go do it.
Yeah.
And Mr. Gobo, I'll also just point out that the historic ordinance may apply to this building if that property is contained as it is part of a historic property ordinance, then those provisions may apply as well.
Is that the
Well-
frame, is that the framed house that has the realtor sign boarding up one of the windows on the side?
No, sir, the house has been gone for
Okay,
20
because
years.
there is a little frame house there too that's just abandoned on Concord Road, I think, right? As you're going
Not
up the
with
hill on the
for
right.
sale sign, but
No. Wait, if you look at the window, funny, because they used to plywood board up the window, was one of the original remnants of one of the brokers that had it.
oh no, that's actually part of 711 Concord
Okay,
Road.
okay.
That is commercial.
Okay, got it, yeah, all right.
But, yeah, with all due respect with regard to the historic ordinance, I guess if we don't care if people are parking 50-foot-3 shipping containers within historic properties, we don't care about other things. But, so I heard Mr. Donahue's response, a couple of counterpoints about 711 Concord Road. So one of my issues is where Mr. Donahue's authority starts with regards to litigation. For instance, the berm and fencing, debris, zoning hearing board remediation. In December, Mr. Donahue mentioned he had the authority per Articles 9 and 11 of the MPC. Last month, I brought copies of those two articles, and nowhere does it address that subject. Secondly, Sunshine Act for agency business includes creation of contracts, adjudication of rights, duties, and responsibilities. That has to go through public hearing, public comment, as well as the HRC for the initiation or settlement of legal issues. It's supposed to go through the board and public comment. So, you know, how is it I'm misunderstanding it?
You are completely misunderstanding it. My job as the solicitor for the township is not to give you legal advice.
I'm not
However,
asking legal advice.
Excuse me.
I'm reading the code that disagrees with you. Can
So-
somebody else answer why he's not
I
following
am gonna-
HRC?
Mr.
or
Mr.
am I
Goebel-
misunderstanding it?
Mr. Goble, you give me the courtesy of responding. But I will refer you to section 106.17, causes of action of the MPC. And this gives you the ability, because let's,
You're skipping the subject again.
no,
Come
I'm
on.
not, sir.
That's
you've
not
been-
answering the question.
It is answering the question.
Oh,
If
absolutely
you don't
not.
believe the
It's not my
township,
job to do your job, sir.
no, sir.
You collect tax money. All right,
Sir.
we're done.
No, we're not done, sir. You're not going to tell me when I'm done. You were in prior litigation with these people.
Because you didn't do your job. You guys gave up. You dumped it on me.
Sir, the township has been on the township has
having
made these people
people-
clean up that property extensively. They have spent a lot of money doing so. We had them change the lighting in the front. We had them change the
Why
lighting
is
in the
township
back.
spending money?
You're,
Why aren't they? They created all this.
I just said they're spending the money.
They-
You're never going to be satisfied, sir.
Are they reimbursing you for
So,
your time?
it's not the township's job to prosecute a taxpayer on your behalf, and they believe we're persecuting them. So, sir, if you believe that we're not doing our job, you can invoke 106.17, hire an attorney, and bring the action against them directly. Thank you.
So, your September agreement that you let the violator's attorney draft, that you signed, page G, you agreed that 53-foot shipping container would be removed from the Newland Gristmill Park. Half of it's on the park. Today, you've decided not to because it's been there for many years. Code says something created in violation remains a violation. There's no X many years. So let me ask you, how many years is Ollie Ollie income free that if I create a violation 2 years ago, am I in trouble? But if I created it 15 years ago, it's okay? What's the cutoff?
Sir, I'm just going to respond in this fashion. I'm not going to say anything else.
Is
This
that an
property-
question?
This property's been used since 1790 in one way, shape, or form. They used to make cream cheese there. There was a railroad station there for the farmers to bring their product. There were many industrial uses that have continued up until this very day. That's what's called a non-conforming legal use.
You're incorrect, sir. A non-conforming legal use has to remain in use continually. That property has seen dozens of usage stoppages. You yourself have many photographs from their attorney when they bought that property, and that shipping container was not there. It looks much worse debris-wise.
I disagree.
When they purchased it.
And you can take the action yourself, Mr. Goebel. I think you should do that.
Okay.
Good, how are you today? Can you hear me? Yes, I'm Carla Jaros. I live at 91 Brandywine Street with my husband Ed, my daughter Aubrey. 91 Brandywine Street backs up to the Frail Zeckman property that was recently purchased by the township. So we're here to give a public comment on that. Just first off, we're very excited about the thought of a pocket park in there. I have a 10-year-old, and she is just dying to get in there and play on the swing sets. But, and Amanda sent us the concept plan a little while ago, and so we just had a couple of things that we thought it might be behoove the council to think over as we're moving forward with the process. So, thing one, the concept plan involves a small street, which is a private street. It's owned by myself, and my neighbors. So I think there's six of us, which means that the 70-year-old plus gentleman across the street with a cat gets out there and shovels little pebbles up and down the street a couple of times a year, and he does the snow plow and he collects money from us. So as neighbors, we're concerned that if the township put a parking lot on that street, we would see an increase in traffic, an increase in use that would be basically our responsibility. Also the potential liability of having an increase in the public. It's also basically a 1.5 lane road. I think on paper it's larger, but in reality it's about 1.5. So it wouldn't be a road that people could really park along and then still be conveniently used. So that's one thing to think about, is the neighbors that I've talked to would be in favor of the township taking over the road as a public road. So that is one thing to consider. They would be, the ones that I've talked to. I mean, there's 6 of us, but you know, that is something to consider, and we'd love you to consider it. The second thing to consider is that the property is beautiful property. It meets the convergence of several springs and a creek that flow eventually down to the Brandywine River, which also makes it extremely wet property. So I'd love for the township to keep in mind and maybe consider what needs to be met by having such a wet property, and what consideration should be taken to that property to both make a playground that is not underwater, and but also consider what would happen if you raised it up for potential stormwater on my property as well as the neighbor's property. So another consideration. The third consideration, and we love the buffer that is in the concept plan of trees and hopefully shrubs, and the township's goals to get rid of invasive plants and to put in more native plantings. So I'd like to make a plug to have native plantings put in that the boundary, as well as to really think about if you're taking down some trees, what you're taking down, and to try and leave as many as the old growth trees and understory as humanly possible to, one, cut down on that water, and also to preserve the natural environment of that property. So those are the issues I wanted to bring to you.
Well, I applaud you for coming in, and I think that we should be taking these suggestions into consideration in the overall development. That was a concept plan, as you are aware, and being that there is a lot of wiggle room in making that a reality plan. And if you could make sure we have your contact information, because I do think, though, that in this instance, since it is a small pocket park, probably going to be used by mostly the people in that area, maybe it would be a good time to have a meeting on site there and just walk it and figure out exactly what to do. We are committed to making it a park that all the people in Concord would be proud of, but most importantly, that you that surround it and enjoy it are going to use it the most, will be most proud of and most happy to enjoy. So your comments were very well taken, very constructive. Come back anytime.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Frank Cesara, 27 Millhaven Road. I see on the agenda tonight that the Plate Logic is going to be addressing the township tonight. I understand the predicament you're in. I just have a word of warning about putting data up on Amazon.gov cloud, because I don't view that as secure. And it's not that I don't trust local law enforcement. I trust the state police. What I don't trust is the feds. And I realize there's really nothing you can do from a public safety standpoint other than to approve this through, because clearly there's a need. I just hope that if the feds should abuse this camera system someday in the future, which I think they will, you'll have a way to better protect the residents of Concord Township, whether that be through a legal out or a kill switch or whatever. That's all. Good luck.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. How you doing, Randy?
Randy Eman, 14 Mendenhall Drive.
How have you
Wanted
been?
to thank the council for the support of Rachel Cole Library.
Right.
We'll be getting some new siding on the library later this year.
Much needed.
Much needed siding, and just thanks for your support, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Randy. Okay. All good? Good. Okay. Next on the agenda is old business, Schoolhouse Lane and Baltimore Pike, lane restrictions and signal modifications. For those that might not be aware, I guess it's been at least a year, maybe probably longer, maybe 2 years now. There was a traffic fatality around Christmas of probably 2020 or 21, I forget now, 20, where there was a fatality at Schoolhouse Lane on Baltimore Pike. And council asked our township engineer, along with our state rep and PennDOT, to try to come up with some solutions on making this a safer intersection. There was a hierarchy of things that needed to be done, such as no left turn lane signs, things of that nature. Ultimately, with the goal being to restrict the left-hand turn movements, and I guess ultimately put a deceleration lane coming from Media towards Schoolhouse, so there would be a dedicated right-hand turn onto Schoolhouse, so you don't get rear-ended there. I think we're in the next line item of that list of things to do, which were some traffic signal modifications. One of the things that was suggested by our engineer was at the traffic signal at Cheney and Baltimore Pike, if you're coming down the hill from the prison, there is no dedicated left-hand turn lane, which some people found as an obstacle, and we're using Schoolhouse for that left-hand turn. And then also the same thing existed at Stony Bank Road up by the Wawa. So in the hierarchy of things to be done, Mr. Gillespie, I think this was the next one in the batting order, so to speak. And we have proposals for this, I think, that you'll go into.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Nate Klein, our engineer, had requested quotes from different contractors, and his recommendation is to award 3 separate contracts. The first one would be Baltimore and Schoolhouse Lane. And what that would be to supply and install a stop sign, supply and install at all traffic must turn right sign, install a thermo stop bar, and install 190 feet of white lane separator curb with delineators. And the price for that is $17,978. The second recommendation would be Baltimore Pike and Cheney Road. Install a separate left turn phase for southbound Cheney Road. And install reflective backplate and brackets, cabinet modifications, move signal number 10 over on the mast arm, pull new 7 conductor cables, all labor and traffic control included, for a price of $6,144. The third item was the most expensive, would be the Baltimore Pike, Stony Bank, Lydia Hollow Drive signal changes, of which I believe Chester Heights does share in that signal with us. So we would need some assurance that they would help with that. It would be installing a separate left turn phase for southbound Stony Bank Road, install a signal section with reflective backplate and brackets, cabinet modifications, including flashing yellow operation, back panel modification, integration of radar and video, new cable to the new signal, move signal number 8. Due to luminaire arms, the omnidirectional video detection will take 2 cameras and must be mounted on mast arms. This is a very expensive project. Install 2-way Wavetronics advanced dilemma zone systems, whatever that is. Traffic control and all labor, price of $59,868. And I suppose my question to our township manager is that these funds are available. Should we award these tonight?
Yes.
Okay, you don't need to say any more.
That's a good answer. I like that answer. This is a long time coming. We've been a while getting these approved by PennDOT and getting bids in from contractors. So, Mr. President, they would be in the form of a motion for all 3 of these. And let's see,
About $85,000.
Higgins would be the successful contractor.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Tucker, you got a question real quick before we have ours? Yeah, come on. You know the drill.
I don't quite, Jim Tucker, 86 Mendel, I don't quite understand what we're doing on Stony Bank. There's already left-hand turn lanes on Stony Bank, on Baltimore Pike, on...
There's no arrows on the light and no delays on the light.
Right, there's no arrows on the light. Is that what you're going to do, put some
Signal
arrows in?
modification.
Oh, okay.
Now, fortunately, the lanes are there, which can also get very expensive. Everything's being done on the red lights themselves. There's more work that's required on the Chester Heights one than the one at Concord.
Yeah, I just sit behind a truck and let him make the first left turn.
Don, you had a question? That's TUC, all right. Okay, any questions or discussion from council? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Think we'll have that done by next meeting?
Oh, we've been waiting a long time.
All right, next is resolution number 25 of 2022, authorization for township manager to execute Namens Creek CMAQ grant agreement documents. Amanda, for those of us, including myself, who forget what a CMAQ grant is, what is it?
So the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Grant. So this is sort of old. This is a ratifying document. So basically what happens is we received the grant. This is for the dual left turn lanes going Namens Creek and 202. We have grant monies for that. It's
I think
executing the
you
documents.
can stop there. All right.
Perfect.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is resolution number 26 of 2022, It is for the approval of the Pulte Sewer Planning Module. This is for the development at the old Chip and Putt on Route 202. This has been a long time coming, and I think it's just one more thing that needs to be done in the process of getting that site developed. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 26 of 2022?
Can I just add a note that there were no public comments received on this?
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Crossan, since you did the goats, you're now going to do a leash for horses, so go ahead. It's like Green Acres here.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have an agreement between the township and David and Leslie Berkeyheiser, who reside at 53 Bethel Road, to lease approximately 9.5 fenced acres at the intersection of Garnet Mine Road and Bethel Road. This is part of the Bush Hill Farm property, which is currently leased and has been leased by them for a while. So this is a renewal of that lease, which we do every year. The full document is contained in our packet and available online. I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Benita Plate Logic, I think I was going to hand that off to you. You've been quarterbacking that, and I'm sorry I missed the demo down there in Upper Chi, but I do understand that it was an interesting system, and I see our state troopers here. It sounds like it would be something that would be a very important tool to have in the toolbox for keeping the township safe. So, you want to go into it a little further or whatever?
Yeah, we did get a cost proposal for the Plate Logic for 3 cameras, three intersections. One is Route 202, Naaman's Creek Road, Route 202, Route 1, and Route 322, Fellowship Drive. These were requested for consideration along with input from PSP.
Okay. So is that in the form of a motion to enter into that lease agreement?
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any questions or discussion?
Do we just highlight the costs, Benita?
Sure.
And the years of the lease,
And
please.
the terms?
All right, why don't we go into that real quick? Cost proposal,
Page 9.
I have it here. So we're talking for the Route 202 in Naaman's Creek, it's $8,000 per year on a 5-year term. And there's a hardware maintenance after the 5th year of $3,175. Route 202 and 1 is $10,000 per year for a 5-year term, with the hardware maintenance of $3,475. And Route 322 and Fellowship Drive are $4,000 per year, with a hardware maintenance cost after the 5th year of $2,475. The cloud service is included, as well as the installation, and these are made in annual payments over a 5-year term, correct?
Correct.
So that is the incidentals of it. I know there's been a lot of questions. Sir, you posed some questions about the privacy. I think we have the state troopers here if they need to comment on that, but no one is out here to share anyone's information. I'm probably about the same age you are, and I'm always concerned about Big Brother watching, but we will do our best to make sure and ensure that people's information is kept private and just used for what it's supposed to be used for in this.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
just a question on the 5-year term of the contract. Does it automatically renew, or is there a notification period for it to continue after the 5 years that the township needs to take
And
action
after
on?
the 5 years, the question was asked, does it automatically renew, or what happens?
No, we actually have to present that, we have to state that we are going to do that option after that 5th year.
And
There'll
I
be
think also,
communication.
council should be aware, we have not been provided, and Amanda, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
We have not been provided with the actual agreement per se, have we?
Yeah, this is the proposal, the cost proposal. So we will have a contract that they will submit to us that has further detailing and more specific notes. So tonight, if council wants to approve the proposal and move forward on the project so that I can start the document part that Hugh and I could review collectively.
And then we can take some of the considerations you've brought up, sir, when we look at the agreement, okay?
I'd like to move to amend the motion that we approve this subject to the review of the contract documents and approval by our township solicitor and township manager.
Anyone have a problem with that? This seems
Second.
suspended.
We'll just need to second that.
We need a second on the amendment?
No, I
You did it?
seconded the
Second?
first one. I will second the amendment.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Just one thing to note, I heard the gentleman's concerns here, and when this was proposed last month or 2 months ago, I raised a number of concerns because when it comes to public safety, a lot can be done in the name of public safety, but of course, we want to make sure that checks and balances are in place to ensure that those systems are not abused against us. And when I went to the demonstration in the Upper Chi Police, I was confident in the assurances with regard to those checks and balances and so forth. And I don't know if Trooper Tobin or any of her colleagues here might want to speak to this, but she spoke to the fact that this system is audited, that these when they pull this information, it's tied to incidents. It's not folks, police officers playing bad, right? I think that's a concern that we have, right? For all the good that can be done, we know that things can also be abused, and we want to ensure that that doesn't happen. So I don't know if Trooper Tobin or could you be able to speak somewhat to those concerns about checks and balances that are put in place to ensure that the system is properly used and not abused?
So, hi, nice to be back again. So, sir, just to address your question, I mean, it is a concern, not just for you, but for many people, and I understand why, but I will counter that by saying there is a very, very diligent process in place where if I, Jessica Tobin, was to abuse the system by running an ex-boyfriend's plate, per se. That's not,
His
okay.
is Amazon Web. His is cloud-based.
Oh, okay.
Amazon.
You're
His
talking
is-
about like a storage. Okay.
Yeah, his
So
is different.
I cannot comment on the storage aspect of it other than, the Pennsylvania State Police, we do our due diligence as far as, ensuring that Plate Logic is following, the policies and procedures that they have to in order for us as law enforcement to use it. When Sean Petty came and he addressed everyone at the meeting and kind of answered the logistics behind the scenes part of his program, he is the only one in his company that he has right now that it's actually a PennDOT certified system, which grants us.
I think what the gentleman is concerned about, though, and he agrees with what your sentiments are, but his concern is if some national, international, or some other organization got into the system, hacked the system, or whatever, and used it for whatever purposes, I mean, you wouldn't even be aware of it either necessarily. So I think that's what his concern is, and he wants to know, is there a way we can pull back or get out of it? Is that fair to say, sir?
That's the closest. That's the one. Oh. Federal government I'm worried about. Okay, so it's not. All right. So I apologize, but I think that would be more of a question for Sean. Okay. So I mean, yeah, I don't want to kind of go into that part of it because that's Mr.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
she's not a spokesperson for the federal government.
That's Mr. Petty's baby as far as like having the checks and balances in place to counteract that and make sure that doesn't happen. But I mean, just like anything else, unfortunately, it's computer technology has the risk of getting hacked. That's why we have job stability, right?
Right.
So,
And
but
I think the solicitor can also, when we review the contract, can look for any assurances around data security and any recourse around data breaches with regard to even notifications and things like that. Because of course, we might not always be able to stop those, but we would want to be aware if there were those breaches or abuses.
Sure.
Thank you. We got it.
Report back to council of his findings, okay?
Yep.
If I could just add one more thing, when we're reviewing the contract, if we can also ensure that there's no ability to harvest any of the data and to use it for any type of sale.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Trooper.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay. Well, now that we had that part of the program, traffic signal modification proposal, Baltimore Pike and Britton Lake Road. Amanda, I think this is another proposal from Higgins. If you're on Britton Lake, making a right onto Baltimore Pike, heading towards 322, there seems to be some confusion with that right-hand turn signal.
Yeah, so there isn't a dedicated right. There is a right lane, but it says no turn on red.
Okay.
So what this does is modifies that to allow the traffic to move.
And the cost for this is $8,780. Do we have a motion to make those improvements?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, number 6 is a resident request for a no U-turn signal on sign on signal at 202 North and Ridge Road. Amanda, what was this about? I think
So we were reached out to by Representative Williams' office regarding a constituent request that there be a sign. So if you're heading northbound, making a left onto Ridge, you can't make a U-turn there on 202 to head then southbound heading back towards Mackenzie's and the Concord Nissan. This does require us to update our permit if we add any signage, and we have to actually discuss it with PennDOT for ultimate, I believe, sort of approvals in not allowing the movement any further.
I guess in order to act on this, we should probably get a motion in a second, and then we can decide and discuss it. So is there a motion to consider this, I guess?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, so what's everybody think?
Question.
Go ahead.
So,
This is going to be, this is clearly in PennDOT's jurisdiction, though.
Yeah, but I think they need our permission, right?
Well, here's what happens. It
It's already
starts
in
with
there.
us because it's on our traffic signal permit. We own the signals and the signage. So it starts with us, and then we have to ultimately go to PennDOT, which is why I want the state to own our traffic signals. But anyway, sorry, I digress. But we have to ultimately go to them, but you need to decide when I go to PennDOT. So that's why council has involvement in if you even want to consider it or not.
Correct me if I'm wrong, there's already currently a no U-turn sign. There's kind of a weird area between the end of the landscaping in front of the fountain.
Exactly.
And Ridge Road, so I think some folks are already kind of stopping short of the intersection and popping a U-ey there before they get to it. So there's already a no U-turn sign there, so this proposal would simply be to add the no U-turn sign at the intersection.
Oh, okay, I'm confused because I have made that movement. So
oh boy,
I'm doing it wrong.
Stay please stop.
No, right now that movement's allowed. So if you can make a U-B to head southbound.
Yeah, Ed Jaros, 91 Brandywine Street. You talked about that with my wife. Yeah, people do take that short. I think you shouldn't be able to take it short. But as far as where it is in particular, if you put a no U-turn sign there, I think you're going to get a lot more people backed up at Smithbridge, which already the light tends to be short in that center area. And so you might end up with more traffic problems than you think you might there. Or people cutting through Mackenzie's or other businesses. So something to consider.
I think a lot of people probably cut through all the business
Sir,
because you could just
ask
come
you a question,
through
please?
Whole Foods.
Sir, could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So you say there is a sign that says no U-turn.
I have no idea. I just don't think it's a good idea because
What is your proposal? What do you want?
I don't want anything.
He's just
I didn't do this. I was just here.
He's just providing a comment that he doesn't think it's a good idea.
Sorry, got up now.
I was just here. And
So
Your
you're not
comment
the
is you
resident?
don't think it's a good idea,
I don't
right?
think it's a good idea.
One thing before we go any further,
clear.
and I think I'm going to make my life a lot easier. Since I own a property at Ridge in 202, I'm abstaining. You guys figure it out.
Well, I
Can
do
somebody
think
can
it's
somebody
quite
tell
narrow.
me where the sign is that says you can't make a U-turn?
It's in the
It's much
landscaped
further
median.
Is it on this, is it on the traffic signal?
No,
At the
it's,
intersection?
no, it's in the middle of 202 at the end of the landscaping where the fountain is.
I don't know that I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
It is there.
It's, well, unless it got taken out with a
What is the
snowplow
resident,
or
what is the resident asking us to do?
to add the no U-turn sign at the light, at
Oh.
the light itself.
That would make it safer. That would make it safer. Okay.
Well, it's certainly a narrower place to make the U-turn than prior to that. So we've already restricted the non-intersection U-turn. I think the intersection in its current form is pretty tight, but obviously it's going to be.
Yeah.
It has the
I
potential.
agree
to be
with the resident.
expanded.
I think the sign should be there at the signal.
Is that no U-turn? Like, that needs to be discussed further because I don't believe there is a no U-turn sign there at all. That was
Well,
the request.
like I said, I think it could have been taken out by a snowplow or an accident
I
at
don't
some
know.
point, but.
All right, guys, what do you want to do?
I think you
You
should have
want-
I think you should have the engineer or Amanda at least talk or investigate it, but you're going to have a couple issues.
I think Mr.
Well,
Gillespie
but-
has a great idea. Let's get a recommendation from the traffic engineer.
We have the recommendation from Nate in front of us that says no objections. So I think we've received that. So it's really more just up to us. I'm fine with, I agree with John to proceed.
Okay. All in favor of proceeding, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Proceeding with what?
Put
Installing?
the sign on top of the red light pole, where they are everywhere else in the township,
Right.
except for here. So, everybody okay with it?
Yep.
And I'm abstaining.
And he's abstaining.
Moving on. We're moving on.
All right, good. Thank you.
So are we,
Yeah.
So we're requesting it from PennDOT.
we're requesting?
Yes.
Now, PennDOT says, no, we're not going to fight them. I don't think. Okay, we have an appointment to the Park and Rec Board. Tiffany Monaco, term to expire February of 2027, and Shireen Motero. Now, am I pronouncing that correct?
That means no.
How do you pronounce
How
it?
do you pronounce it? Seriously.
Close enough.
Matawa. Okay, I'll know that for next time.
Close enough.
Easy.
For a term to expire August of 2022. Do we have a motion to approve those appointments?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And welcome aboard. I see
They're both here.
Oh, let's vote.
Okay, and whatever Allison says about Gillespie is true, and me it's not.
And we'll be sending email communication with information for you both, okay?
Thank you for your service.
Okay, John,
I do
you
want to
gotta
make
award some bids
I do
here,
want to
right?
We
make a
didn't
quick
vote on that. We got a motion and a second.
comment here.
All right.
I
Go ahead.
was able to speak with both of them, Sharon as well as Tiffany. Both are very enthusiastic, and it was good talking to you. Glad to have you on the board, and looking forward to work with you.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Gillespie, you got a bid for the AME church interior work?
Yes. Township received 2 bids for the interior renovation of the AME church, and the low bidder is Paolella Construction in the amount of $85,900. So I just have a question. Well, that's in the form of a motion. Okay, I have a
Okay.
question.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Go ahead, John, what's your
My
question?
question is to our township manager. We do have funds for that, correct?
It's the CBDG.
That's through the grant,
Oh,
through
it
the
is.
HUD. That's CDBG monies that we're using
Not our money.
through for the interior renovations tied, that's for the grant.
Is the grant in that amount, or is it less or more?
It's right around that amount.
Yep.
Right around there.
It was around 90,000, I think.
This is for the HVAC.
HVAC and the drywall finishes and the interior painting, yes.
Right. Not any furnishing or pews or anything.
No. Okay, the next is the Pierce Willets House exterior work, RFP and bid received. Mr. Gillespie, you were going to talk about that one?
Yes,
We're
the
gonna
bids,
throw this one out, right?
the bids were received, and they come in very, very high because
Only one
some
bidder.
items were combined. So I'm making a motion to reject the bids and to rebid and separate the items out so we can get a more clear picture of how much the painting would be on that building.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. John, I think you got 10, 11?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah, the next one is certificate of payment number 2A to Able Fence in the amount of $18,918. Yes, that's a progress payment. We can combine that with the next one if that'll please the president. The next one will be a certificate of payment number 1 to JEV Construction for $126,450 for the EQ pump project. Both of those are in the form of a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Next is the authorization to advertise for a hearing for a zoning map amendment, area of Route 322 in Baltimore Pike. We had a presentation, I guess was it last month's meeting now, or the one before, from Hannah Harley Davidson regarding a property on, you have the map? Okay. Well, probably gonna make a lot more sense with the map up there. It's a property on 322, next to where the mulch, Mikowski Mulch is. If you're facing Mikowski, it's to the left today. You probably didn't even know it was there. It's just a small house on a residential lot, and it is zoned residential. And Mikowski, some people do not realize, is also zoned residential. So we're going to rezone them to commercial. I think it would be hard pressed to argue that the mulch works is a residential use. And if you are facing the mulch, this other property is to the left, and then to the left of that is the hotel for the Concordville Inn. So these two pieces seem to be somewhat orphaned from their proper zoning district. So there will be hearings on this. People can offer whatever testimony they want, but this is just the authorization to advertise for the hearings. Sure. See, Mr. Jarvis is here on behalf of the applicant.
It's across from the United Tire Center, right where that light is, where Evergreen Drive comes out of 322. And this would be an extension of the C2 district from the hotel down to include these two additional properties. So this is not an isolated area, but would be an extension.
And I believe the applicant's attorney is or will provide the manager with the folio numbers and addresses of the exact properties involved. So that can be included in the advertisement. Thank you.
So there will be more information to follow about a hearing date, and it will be duly advertised as required by the MPC. This is just for us to get it to that next level for advertising and the setting of a hearing. So do we have a motion to authorize the advertisement for the hearing? So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. There are no financial security releases. There are no complete for filing any applications coming in. Under other council matters, we have the Smithbridge Dog Park surface discussion. I have to say, in all my years here, for a park that nobody was ever going to go to, it gets a lot of use. And
Word out.
for us being told that we didn't know what we were doing, I guess, even a broken clock is right twice a day. But we're having an issue there with the amount of usage and where the grass is being destroyed and being turfed up because the dogs are dogs and they play in the grass. So there's been a couple little scenarios of how best to shut it down and to resurface it or regrow the seed. One thing that was discussed at Public Works was to possibly do it in September, which would be a better time for the seed to grow over the winter. Another was to do it immediately and divert everybody to the other dog park. I don't know what the right answer is here. I did talk to Nate today on an issue. I didn't know if at the dog park on the one we're talking about, is if there was any way to add a second entrance to that park. By that I mean furthest away from the parking lot so that we might be able to use the portion of the park where the grass is in good shape and then somehow take out of commission the part that needs to be reseeded, if that might be an option.
I mean, I think we can talk to Dan about anything. I think the reality is we don't shut it down, right? So a lot of municipalities, when they have dog parks that are grass surfaced, they will reseed them at a certain time, October. They'll shut them down for several months, so that way they have no usage, and then the grass bed comes back up. It's kind of a rhythm. You know, we talked about mulch, but the slope in that area, it won't hold the mulch, so we actually aren't going to do mulch there.
Excuse me, we also talked about artificial surfaces, but they're in the $200,000 to $300,000 for an
Yes,
artificial surface.
so that was sort of determined, and there's pros and cons to that as well as anything else.
Okay.
So I think Dan recently had reached out, and his suggestion was, let's just put signage up that we're working on it, and we're aware that there is a situation, and you know what, after it rains, maybe people just don't go with your dog if you're worried about the mud.
I do think there's a solution if we put our collective heads together, or maybe becoming Solomon here and splitting the baby, maybe somehow keeping the part open and having them access it from another point while the other is germinating. It's almost like on a golf course when they switch to greens or something like that. But we have to come up with a plan that's going to keep it in operation, even if it's in a reduced area, for a period of time. I think it gets so much use, and it's such a valuable, and people look forward to going there with their families and their pets and everything like that, that we ought to come up with some sort of solution, but cognizant of the fact that it's going to need some work. We got to do something there.
So then is the collective discussion sort of for now? We are going to, you know, put something up noting that we know this, and in the fall, we're going to come up with a game plan? Is that where we all are,
We
or?
should put something up. We're aware of the conditions. We're brainstorming the ideas and somehow not to shut the park down for 90 days for the seed to germinate or whatever it is, and then come up with a solution here. And I honestly think that there could be a way of just using the half of it. If I look at that, when they come in, it's all mud. If we could maybe get them in at the other end of the park.
It's about half of the large dog park is.
So dog park went in. Anyway, we got to talk about it.
Exactly.
We all
More to come.
realize there is a problem there, and it needs our attention.
And unfortunately, there's no great time to shut it down because dogs are going to need to go out every day throughout the year. So, you know, but we'll do our best, and hopefully I can communicate that with the residents.
It's a roof decision. Get it? Now I get it. Been here too long. What time's the bar closed? Never mind. Okay, County Preservation Award. Mr. Gillespie, I think we got an award for something?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the Heritage Commission of Delaware County is giving us an award. It's taking place this Saturday. I will be there. I think Mr. Crossan is also invited. The Grist Mill folks will be there. Historic Commission, Historic Society. This is the relocation of the partial house that the Newland log home being relocated, the wood being relocated, selectively demolished, categorized, and relocated over to the grist mill for future use on that site. So county has seen fit to give Concord an award. So we're very, very proud about that.
All right, and we are noting that Amanda wanted us to move the July meeting. So we're meeting on Tuesday, July 12th at 7 p.m.?
No. So here's how it started.
Okay.
Now, our meeting is July 5th. So there were some folks who had some things going on. I'm actually in town, but there are some folks who had some things going on for their July 4th and requested that we push it back a week.
Okay.
So if council is obliged to do that, we can do that. If not,
I don't have a problem with it.
have who you have here, and we move on.
I think I have concurrence from everybody here.
Okay.
Mr. President, I have an item to add under other council matters. It seems like we forgot something this year. May is Older Americans Month, and a couple events are happening. Even this Friday, May the 6th, at Harrah's Casino from 9 to 1, a senior expo with many, many vendors, similar to the one that we have here in Concord, but not as nice. But if you don't feel like going from table to table, you can go to the casino and gamble. The next event would be May 16th, which is Centenarian Luncheon at Drexelbrook, which I will be attending, not as a Centenarian, but as a member of COSA, to give out awards to the Delaware County Centenarians, which I don't know how many this year, but I know there's more than 50 of them. It's quite an event. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
One other note was last Wednesday was Administrative Professionals Day, and I just want to extend our thanks on behalf of council to all the administrative professionals here on staff.
Yes.
That's why we're moving the meeting. No, anyway. Upcoming township meetings are listed. May 5th is the Park and Rec Board meeting. May 11th, Historical Commission. May 11th is also lawn debris pickup day, but you must sign up at the township. So if you contact our offices and give us your address, we will come by and pick up your lawn debris. May 16th is the conditional use hearing for a self-storage facility on Route 202 at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. is the Planning Commission meeting. 17th is primary election day. The
That got dropped.
May 16th hearing is off the table as
Okay.
of today.
All right. May 17th is primary election day. The offices are open, but not open to the public, correct? Amanda?
Sorry. Yes, that is correct.
May 18th, zoning hearing board. May 20th, World Diversity Day event at 6 p.m. at the Smithbridge Park. May 24th, council agenda meeting if it's needed. And May 30th is the Memorial Day holiday. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you for coming.